poison or sting worms are slowly moving tough enemies with the most deadly poison attack we'll see in this scenario. To make matters worse, they have an extremely high chance of using it. The queen worm is a bigger, badder, and uglier version of the poison worm, capable of a devastating poison attack and armor-eating acid breath. The queen worm thankfully has a serious weakness to fire attacks. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Let's Play Shining Force 3. This is Battle 24. Let's take a look around. Rather empty field, as you can see. No big worms here. I can't imagine why. A couple of harpies over there. And this tree that I'm about to show you here, very nice item here. Oh yes, we'll be sending Eldar over for that one. And 3 masked monks, and that's it. Really? Really, Shining Force? I think not. So yes, ambushes abound in this particular level. It's not the most difficult of levels, but it does have some interesting features. The opponents we face can be a little bit tricky. Well, you know how it goes. We're going to skip forward just a little bit here so we can get into the fight nice and quickly. Still got a couple of Cerberus, and they're still as useless as they always were if they don't use their fire breath attack. Maybe this one will get the hint. Evidently not. Learning from the mistakes of his forefathers. So let's annihilate them. Now, I could waste an awful lot of mana here and blast them with a Spark 2, but no. We're going to need that mana for later on, so just a standard blaze will do fine. Just knock a little bit of health off there and then finish him off with, well, whoever the hell I want. Cerberus aren't exactly very susceptible to fire, as you can tell. No shocks there. Get Dantes in there and finish that one off. Might be best not to do it with the spear, however. Although I have no doubt he'd probably manage it anyway.
Prepare to die.
Well, that's a nice start for 10. Hopefully we'll see some consistency in that regard. Down to go, 65 damage. Now, I must say that this is not one of my preferred levels by any stretch of the imagination. I don't like slow burners. Anything that starts like this, where it's a case of moving your forces for about 10 minutes and engaging a relative handful of enemies before getting into the thick of it, is not something I find particularly enjoyable. There are some great fights coming up. Indeed, the next fight is fantastic. Big fan of that. It also helps that in that fight, it's a rather unique setup, something that we haven't seen before. Right, now, I need to take Eldar around there to see what's hiding in that tree. In the meantime, we do have a lizard man that needs to be cleared out of the way. Oh, very close, but not quite close enough. Never mind. You can wait till later. Now, this is a great opportunity to get Irene some really good experience. Now, we already know that she was getting 49 for killing of these. Should still get that. Yes, we do. 49 and level 8. And a reasonable stat up there, nothing to complain about. And there's the trigger point for this particular level. We have a large collection of roaring pink worms. Terrifying. Also known as generic monster sound 4 of Shining Force 3. Now, the literal translation from the Japanese is poison worm. They're actually called sting worms. Both is equally appropriate, to be honest. Now, the most dangerous attack, as you heard, is the poison attack. They do it so often. They might have as well have made it their normal attack. Their crit chance is extremely high. No point wasting precious mana here. This is, I believe, the last time we see lizard men. Can't say I'm too sorry to see them go. Now, this looks like very nice terrain, but it's actually not. It's quite rough, as you might be able to tell from the texturing, so we can't move all that fast. I hate that. Really do. There's the panic. Possible illusion? Yep, that's an illusion. Not too bad at all. Could have been confusion. We know how nasty that can be. Eldar's got some great damage capacity now, so I wouldn't like to see that turned against us. Just to make sure. Oh, yes. Alright, now I could go after the worms here, but I don't want to put Pen up there. Those things are very dangerous, so let's go for one of the lizard men instead. Screaming fiery bird death. Huh, maybe we should have gone for the worms after all. Well, power axes do drop on an infrequent basis from the lizard men. They sell for about 600 gold, so you can't really complain. We get a couple this battle, as I recall. And Dantes can certainly face them down. And as they hit, you see they've got very good defense to be able to actually take that amount of damage. Thankfully, the monsters in Chapter 6 get much better defense as well, since by that point, the game is absolutely certain that you're going to be using a bunch of really great weapons. So it decides to get somewhat more challenging before the end, and that's not anything to complain about. Might as well. Could kill one, but I'd rather do a lot of damage to the second one as well. Crit might have killed it, but lightning will at least do some solid damage to the second worm. Very good. And level 10. With a perfect stat up, bundled in. Right, now, a lot of these worms do respawn, so we are going to have to send a rear guard over to the corner there. We can block off some of the respawns, of course, by standing on them, but what I will say is that they're great for experience. These are the... Yeah, I believe this is actually the only time you ever see the sting worms, so you get a lot of experience from killing them. It's good to sort of farm them in the back with a select collection of characters, while we send the rest of them upfield to eliminate the boss, which we, of course, have yet to see. Very nice. Right, now, Noon, we're gonna just leave back here to deal with them. We might as well use the Wendigo. I would use rank 2, which I know is an instant kill, but that's a lot of mana to be used. This one should do some pretty hefty damage, and we can send the rest of our rear guard in to deal with them. Wow, very good indeed. It's an effective spell, it's just unfortunate that you can't really use it enough to justify throwing it at random creatures. It's usually best saved for a boss. Now, the summon spells can do an obscene amount of damage to a boss in the right situation. Oh, there we go. And that's a genuinely useful one, because that's going to give us all of our health back. Very good indeed. Seeing through the illusion there, the chance of that happening, very low. Now, it would be nice to get this lizard man out of the way. He's not much of a threat, but hey. Far be it from me to take away the chance of kicking ass from Khan. Obright's turning into a really useful character, and I'm happy to see that. Great with both the axe and, of course, his tomahawk. And that's the real version of full swing that you, of course, don't see when the enemy uses it. Their definition of full swing is simply a crit. Now, I don't know why that is. I assume it was just laziness on the part of the animators and the programmers just saying, hey, we can't be bothered to have our models spin around and deal massive amounts of damage that way. Unfortunate, really. Now, there's that poison I was talking about. It's a pretty reasonable hit to start with, but you're looking at maybe doing about 17 damage a turn. So that's going to take massive chunks out of the health of anybody. Naturally, we have kitted our guys out with some antidote herbs, and we've got a couple of healers capable of removing that poison. Unfortunate, we're looking yet again for an opportunity to increase the friendship between Pen and Noon, maybe going for a soulmate. That would be nice to see at this stage of the game. Hoping to get at least one before we finish this scenario. Unfortunately, soulmate status is random. Very annoying. You get a random chance at a certain level of friendship to get a soulmate every time you get friendship points. And sometimes it just doesn't happen. And there we go. There's the trigger point for the rather large worm. The mother of all worms. Oh, yes. Huge, massive amounts of hit points, poison attack for the ages. Fortunately, of course, if you're good enough, you can lure the guards, which will invariably appear away from the worm and then attack. She's very slow moving. So if you're rushing there correctly, you can do obscene amounts of damage. And again, a lot of vulnerability to fire, so I think using Phoenix on her later on would be a very effective strategy. Save our mana for that. In the meantime, however, we're going to have to continue to make our way upfield, continually ambushed by respawning worms as we go. Again, we want to try and keep them away from the cloth-wearing healers. Wouldn't be so pleasant at all. A lot of potential damage there, and indeed, a lot of potential damage can be done to any of our guys. Poison really does not discriminate. Right, now let's grab what's in that tree. This is the ultimate wing for Eldar in this scenario. There is one better, if I recall correctly. But you can't get that until scenario 3. That's the Zero Wing.
Take this.
Now, the great thing about the Zero Wing is the Zero Wing has a insta-kill attack, which is very impressive visually. Hopefully we'll get to see that later on. Now, the impact of the poison there, 11 on Noon. It can vary. It's okay for the time being. So we're standing, as you can see, on the spot of one of the spawns. We're going to allow the other one to spawn so we can farm some experience. Now, Noon's a pretty tough caster, so it's not too big a deal to have him up front, but we'll move Irene in as a support healer. Particularly since support, the defense increasing spell has now worn off. Right, now would be a great time to use that arrow axe. A lot of versatility now with Obright, very handy. Not that we really need versatility to annihilate that. Or indeed a boomer throw, but whatever. If the shoe fits, 34 damage and down he goes. Great experience there. Good opportunity to get Obright up to speed with everyone else. Now there's another one of those angry worms. They will continue to spawn. I don't believe you ever run out of worms at the back. There is indeed an entire can of them. Oh, can we get a kill with Grace? Tornado now at level 3. Yes, she can get level 4. She gets a couple more levels, she'll be able to do that with that axe, so that's great. I mean, it's a really good spell to have. Very mana efficient, potentially quite lethal. Now, speaking of potentially quite lethal, those two monk casters are something we're going to have to look out for. And this could be messy. That's a poison attack, and oh, 1 damage. Gotta get him healed up straight away. That could have been very unpleasant indeed. And there's yet another poison attack, even able to go through a very solid defense there to deal a reasonable amount of damage. But again, it's the damage over time that we're worried about. You saw there just a brief look at the health bar, the Queen Worm. Yes, it's stacked health bars. This is something that has been in the other Shining Force games as well. You'll have multiple health bars of different colours stacked on top of each other, and they will give you a rough indication. There are, I believe, 2 bosses in this scenario that have so much health that they have a black health bar, and you aren't even told how much health they have at the start. They just have a set of question marks. Actually, it's 3 bosses. All of which we will see towards the end of the game. There's a lot more of those bosses later on, particularly in Scenario 3 and, of course, the premium disc battles. Now, those are really endurance fights. I must say I'm looking forward to one of them that comes to before the final fight. It's actually arguably harder than the final battle. It's a much more dangerous creature that we'll have to face in something called the Hero's Test. And that's an optional dungeon, which has got some great rewards and items, as well as a multiple-tiered system, allowing your leftover characters an opportunity to get some valuable experience on monsters that are more suitable to their level. It's very handy. We won't be showing that in its entirety, of course, because it's very, very long. It's also quite a generic area. A lot of respawning monsters. Wouldn't want to risk the health of our best mage. Now, let's try the Ibaru ring here. Perhaps it will work well with the magic bonus. It's difficult to say. I mean, it's a good attack, don't get me wrong. I mean, Pen can do great damage if he crits, but his normal damage is falling behind a little now. Now, here's what I was hoping would not happen. I suppose I can be a bit thankful that it was only Blaze 3. Kite has very good fire resistance thanks to the Phoenix Sword. Gives her plus 20 or perhaps even plus 30 resistance to fire. Very nice. See, now would be an appropriate time for a crit. Now, that's a good level up. No complaints there. I'm pushed forward with Obe right now. I'm glad to see Eldar coming back into the fray, though. I'll be able to use that new wing. And yes, it is only a +1 increase in attack, but that special that he gets from it will really make the difference. And yes, I still haven't learned Eldar's gender correctly. It's a sad state of affairs. That's what happens when you put androgynous characters in your games. Square Enix, take note. Oh, and a poison attack as well, just to add insult to injury. Or indeed, injury to injury. Also, I'll use that distance heal. To be honest, I'd rather get the poison off him first. The poison has greater potential damage than that magic can. Here's a concern. No heal. That's a tornado form. We've seen how dangerous that can be. That's a big hit there on Kite, but that's the Mass Monk's power basically expended. Shouldn't be difficult to move in and clear them out now. That's a tenacious one. Even the standard attack capable of a lot of damage. And she just bides her time, waiting for us to approach. And yes, spawning right at the back, with a number of guards that move quite slowly, I might add. Now, here we go. Let's unleash some power. Very appropriate. Nice big bunch to do a heck of a lot of damage to. Oh yes, that's what I like to see. Very good. A silver ring for our trouble. Now, I have skipped forward quite a bit here, as you might have noticed, just because really nothing went on. And there it is, 0 count. A nuclear explosion completely wiping out the Stingworm there. It's, of course, a bit of an odd translation. It's actually ground zero, as you might imagine, for obvious reasons. Now we're approaching and ready to go. It really is a case of run in and hope for the best here. Try and take out the worm before she's able to counterattack with devastating acid breath, which can actually kill characters. Very nasty. And they're still trying over there. Our little rearguard group getting some great XP gains. Bullseye. Yeah, you're dead. Or maybe not. Wow. It's a lot of defense to resist something like that. With Draenau actually coming in handy, save us a little bit of healing power there. Draenau can be very useful. It's not the most spectacular looking move, but as in terms of utility, very good indeed. An appropriate use of the Boomer Throw, a big chunk of health taken off the Stingworm. Again, Obright not the biggest damage dealer, but he's gonna be after that. That's rank 3 in Tomahawks. Or throwing axes, whichever you prefer. Vortex, I don't believe I've ever seen that, so that'll be great to see once it actually happens. I imagine it's particularly good as most of the rank 3 abilities are. It's about time that we start moving in to engage. And yes, they will continue to spawn even in front there. Now, I'm kind of happy that this is happening. I mean, Obright's going to take quite a bit of damage from the Stingworms, but it's good that the Stingworms are moving away. We'll be able to hit them with some powerful area of effect attacks and then rush in to attack the boss. Oh, nice counter-attack there. Very good. 40 damage. Eldar's a real damage dealer these days. Very nice to see. A lot of people in the thread and commentating on the video said, hey, well, Eldar will grow to be a good character, and yes, half of the time she does, half of the time she doesn't. I've played a number of playthroughs where she's ended up completely useless. Now, Irene's defense not very high, but she's got quite a few hit points, so no fear there. And the Queen Worm deciding not to come out. She only has a movement speed of 4, so she wouldn't be able to move from there and deal any damage. Might as well make use of that great area of effect to do some cleaning house. Devastating. Oh yeah. Now that is going to leave the Queen Worm wide open for attack. Should we charge Dantes straight in? Of course, Dantes needs to be the one up front. Not with a spear, preferably. Let's go for the hit with the Dragon Lance, see if we can get anything good. The Dragon's Breath ability would be good here. No, just a standard attack, and that is a huge boss. Look at the scale of that. Funnily enough, not the largest in this game. Oh yes, there's one bigger to come. Now this is a great situation. This is exactly what I was looking for. Oh, a lightning blast. Slicing off a massive chunk of health there, and a paralysis on a boss character. Very rare. That's rendered her extremely ineffective. Might be able to take her down without taking any losses whatsoever. Wonderful. Can't complain about that at all. Now let's finish this. After we've hung around a little bit. Eldar from behind, I would think. Sounds like a good idea. Perhaps we'll get to see that special move again. No, maybe not. Well, a cross slash will do the job. Good damage there. Now we've left with 82 HP. The question is, can we finish her off before her reinforcements pop up and start wreaking havoc on our force? Wrecking havoc works too, as far as I'm concerned. Now, that ability I was saving, let's see how effective it's going to be. Phoenix rank 2. Let's give it a shot. Will that fire vulnerability work in our favor? We've seen how devastating these summons can be. Wow, 96 damage. Most damage I've ever seen anyone do in this game, and down the Queen Worm goes without being able to deal a single attack. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching Shining Force 3 Battle 24. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I will see you in Chapter 6.